or go on their website and they have all their events and their membership connections. Also, let me see, there's one more thing. Yeah, we're good. Now, let's talk about our speaker. Recently dubbed the Marie Kondo of business operations for her ability to declutter and streamline workflows. Sara Loretta, founder of SYSTMS, it's an operations company, specializes in helping service-based businesses scale smarter. She's spent over a decade mastering data, compliance, and business development, and tonight she'll share how she built LizzieAI. It's an AI-powered executive using Zapier, Notion, and Slack. She is the 10th U.S. certified Notion consultant. So you got a rock star Notion person here. And she's the first certified Paperform expert. She brings unmatched expertise in low-code solutions. She even created Ops Department, an AI-assisted hiring directory that connects businesses with tech-savvy experts. Beyond consulting, she fosters creative collaborative. She runs the Notion Austin Meetup group and the ATX YouTubers Meetup group. Find her on Luma. And she also, let's see, what else does she do? Her mission is to help businesses reclaim time with smarter systems. Check out her YouTube channel. Let's get ready to welcome the amazing Sara Loretta, my friend. I love her. Woo!
Okay, I have a mic, but I'm also very loud. I taught K through 5, so we can be loud, but if you need me to have a mic, I can. How do we feel? Good? Yeah. Okay, love that for me. Okay, hi everyone. Today is really fun. I have never spoken at Capital Factory before, but of course could not turn down the opportunity to brag about being a nerd. Okay, I am not an AI girl. I know how to use Zapier a little bit. So if those of you who are here who are AI experts, please don't come at me in the comments, okay? But for those who have not met me yet, my name's Sara. I have been in Austin about 15 years, so I am not a newbie by any sense. I was here before the skyline, and I'm very proud of that. But in my time and in my career, I was really fortunate. I did AmeriCorps and then went on to work for a nonprofit for close to 10 years. We did adult workforce programming, think plumbing, electrical, machine operator, all that good stuff. But when I started there, we were a 20-year organization solely operating out of filing cabinets. We had social security numbers typed out on paper. And we owed close to 80 grand a quarter to the city, every quarter, because all of our reporting was wrong. And so little 18, 19-year-old me who was so ambitious and just, I loved my career. I was like, I am going to learn SQL and I'm going to build a database and we're going to fix this problem. What 19-year-old wakes up and says that? I don't know. I don't know where it came from. But that really started my love for compliance and data and storytelling. At 19, I became Tableau certified, fell in love with heat maps. Again, who does that? I don't know. It was not cocaine, I promise. It was not the hard drugs talking. But from there, I didn't know about the world of entrepreneurship. I didn't understand the word freelancing. That was not something in my language. When you're a nonprofit, you make less than 40 grand a year and you smile and say, thank you so much. And you are burnt out to a crisp. And so in my career path, I really was like, is this it for me? I'm 25, I'm crying every day, I'm burnt out. And somebody had mentioned a conference that it was Boss Babes ATX at the time. They are now called Future Front Texas for the women in the room who may be familiar with them. Maybe some gentlemen in here too. And they had a conference at UT. I just happened to go. I was like, why not? Tickets $15, I might as well go. Literally went home that night and started my business. And that was 7 years ago. And now I sit on their board and I'm very proud to do so. I absolutely love their mission. But in my work, in freelancing, I didn't know that I could carry my career forward. And so I, like many women who freelance, I love all of us, I made websites and I made logos and I thought that that was my value. But I kept getting clients launching now my operations consultancy where I serve B2B brands and basically burn them down. I burn your business down and we rebuild from the ashes. If you're a Harry Potter fan, I am your phoenix. We do everything from systems, culture, and tech. So your processes, how your team interacts if they are remote, right? Because we all know that the green dot on Slack does not mean culture. And also, how are you giving that high level of experience to your clients, right? We all know that churn is a big deal. But in service work, testimonials are worth more than gold. And so you have to show up every single day. And how do you do that if your team is burnt out, right? So the final component of that is tech. What tools are we using to actually deliver that? Is it Notion? Is it Asana? Is it Google Calendar? Whatever that looks like, right? Especially when your team is remote. And so that's what I do at Systems. I don't know why my picture's not loading. But the biggest issue that I solve is that solo slash teams, because I know many of you are probably solos in here, we spend on average 30% a week on manual workflow, redundant processes, and constantly straining ourselves, right? I could count on all of my hands, my toes, and each strand of hair on my head how much this bogs teams down and actually prevents them from scaling. And I'm not talking scaling, going from 100 grand to $1 million a month. I'm literally saying, how do we help the repertoire of our team, right? We all started our businesses to be innovative, to solve a specific problem. But if you're constantly just in your email, you're not solving the problem you woke up to do, right? You're doing admin work, and that's not your job, okay? So that was also the issue with me in my business, is that I have been a solopreneur for 7 years now. I've dabbled in contractors. I've dabbled in kind of that next level, right, where they're like a consistent freelancer with you, but they're still 1099, and I hated it. I hate managing people. I hate trying to explain something that I know by the time I'm done explaining I could have just done myself. And it's not a pride thing. It's just a lot of work, right? I also selfishly like my income. I like the money I make. Why do I want to give it away? Yeah.
You said you need the microphone. They can't hear anything on YouTube.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Okay, I guess I'll just start over. No, I'm kidding. I'm so sorry, YouTube. Got it. Okay, cool. All good. So with contracting and working with people, I just realized it was not for me, but I still wanted to scale my business, right? On average, I work with 12 to 13 clients at any given time. How do I do that? Well, you'll meet Lizzie in a second, but you can also have the ability to automate and streamline things, and it doesn't take away from your overall experience. It doesn't devalue you. That was something that I thought about at the beginning was, well, if I automate this, will clients think that, well, since a robot's doing it, I don't need to pay Sarah as much? And that is absolutely not the case. And I will tell y'all, very specifically, I got into it with a client not too long ago because of my AI assistant. And their argument was, well, why do you have this robot? Why is Lizzie in here all the time? And I had to explain to them, would you rather me spend 30% of our project, which is normally 90 days, that's the average lifespan of one of my clients, 90 days, only responding to your emails, only checking Slack, only tailoring to what you need to get off of your chest? Or would you rather me add that 30% back into the deliverables and give you exactly what you're paying me for? And that's when they were like, okay, I guess it's okay, right? And so it's crazy when you think about the world of AI and using it as a engine and a cycle to really push you forward, how much people are still very much against it. And I am one of those people. I don't use Sora. I'm not generating like fake images. Like the whole is this picture or this picture AI generated gives me anxiety because I cannot tell, okay? So I don't dabble in that. But what I do is I have universalized my business so much that there is no margin of error for me. And that every single client, no matter if I have 5 clients at one point or I'm spending more time on one of my other businesses, because I love Sharon, but something to add to that, I also do events full time. I own a production company, so I do a lot, right? But my clients will never know that because I have a system to help me push people forward, regardless of if I can't check my email until 10 o'clock at night, right? It also gives me the flexibility to not check my email at 10 o'clock at night. I'm very adamant that I shut all of my stuff down at 5 o'clock. Systems is my 9 to 5. I am not an entrepreneur that like stays up stressing about her business, okay? I don't. If you do, that's more power to you, but I like hanging out with my dogs and my boyfriend and watching TV, and I am fine with that. So without further ado, I would love for you to meet Lizzie Benson, AKA my AI-powered account executive. She is mainly powered through Zapier, Slack, and emojis, which, if that's not professional, oh well. But I'm gonna tell you a story of how Lizzie got started, because I think when we are really thinking about AI, you know, it's like, well, where do I start with this, right? Especially service-based businesses, we really are like, well, what do I automate? Is it invoices? Is it contracts? Is it, you know, communication once a week to generate a report of how the client's doing if, I don't know, you're doing marketing, right? But for me, it's so ridiculous how this got started. So a little over a year ago, I worked with a client who has this like podcast in crypto and like travels the world and like interviews people around the world about business and crypto. And I built them a Notion workspace to kind of track all of their podcast production. And by the end of it, it was an hourly project. They owed me $460 on the dot, okay? Does anyone want to take a guess on how long it took me to get that invoice paid? I'll tell you, 5.5 months. I tracked them down for 5.5 months to pay $400. And by the end of it, it was not about the money. The money was gone and spent, right? That's not even... The $400 is not even like half of rent in Austin, okay? It wasn't about the money. It was the pure respect that I did a service for you, I did deliverables for you, and you blatantly disrespected my expertise and my work. And I don't know where I had seen it, but there was this kind of conversation going around a couple of years ago, especially in the freelancing, like female space, is that people have fake accountants to send their invoices. A lot of women have a fake male accountant, okay? And listen, I thought it was bullshit, all right? I was like, there's no way that a fake name and an alias email get your invoice paid, because I've never had issues. I've never had a client pay me late. I've never had a single issue. I've been very fortunate until this guy. And I'm like, there's no way that this works. So I go into ChatGPT and I'm like, I need a fake accountant and I need it this personality and make it a girl, but like make her kind of serious, but like kind of nice, and give it a name. And literally her name is Lizzie Benson. That was one of the names on the 10 suggested list. And I send the invoice from Lizzie. I kid y'all not, 17 minutes later, the invoice was paid. And I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. I was so mad. Because it's like, why does this work? Some random name that you've never met, why does that hold more base than a relationship you've built with somebody? And that was the moment where I realized, and this is kind of sad to admit, but my name doesn't really mean a whole lot, right? What it means is that your business looks well-rounded. It looks like it's got depth. Doesn't matter if they're real or fake, right? And so that is why I leaned further into Lizzie. And I will say, for a little bit of transparency, I have always had a universalized business. I would rather chew hot glass than write a proposal. I would rather get hit by a bus than write a custom contract. That is not worth my time, okay? When it is the exact same project I'm doing for 10 clients before you and 10 clients after you. And so in all of this, I went back and reworked my entire customer journey. I looked at everything and said, what hasn't been templated that I can template further, that I can automate further, that I can streamline further? And that's when I came up with, oh, Lizzie can do my invoicing. She can manage my calendar. She can send follow-ups on SOWs. She can send reminders and create Slack channels. And this is literally everything that Lizzie does for me, give or take like 5 things I've added in the last couple of weeks. So Lizzie, like I mentioned, is mainly triggered through Notion. So I run my sales pipeline in Notion. As we mentioned, I'm a certified Notion consultant, so I kind of have to be in the platform. But she's also my note taker. So she starts with note taking. I use circleback.ai if anybody needs a new note taker. Circleback's phenomenal. Found them on Product Hunt over a year ago when they launched. I'm obsessed with what Ollie is building and his team. So she starts in there, and Circleback's really cool because you can change the photo of the AI note taker instead of just being like an initial. And then you can also change the name. So people that come into sales calls with me literally think Lizzie is real and her camera is just turned off, which is absolutely hilarious to me. Because they'll be like, hi, Lizzie, how are you? And I'm like, I'm sure she's great, but robots don't have emotion yet. So she starts there, and then all of those AI notes go through ChatGPT and suggest next steps. So I am not sitting here going, do they have the budget to work with me? Are they gonna be a problem client? What's their, do they fit my mold, right? All of that goes through a prompt that I built. And then she spits out basically a status in Notion that tells me should I move forward or not? I review it, and then I change the status, which triggers all of the onboarding. And so, like I said, I have universal SOWs. So every client goes through either a 90-day or 6-month process with me, and each phase of that project is 45 days. It may switch just a little bit, right? Life happens, but I can start the project that way, right? With that intention. Oh, somebody's trying to get on Apple. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Well, my thing doesn't actually work that. That's on the Apple TV. It's not on my computer. Yeah, could you do that? I'll keep talking while you do it. So my SOW is completely universalized. And so every single client, I have automated this so much that after clients get on a sales call with me, I have a pre-recorded 3-minute video that goes back through everything I said in the sales call. Because if someone is not in the call that has to make the financial decision to hire me or say yes, they could just ship that video right on to the person who needs to hire me, right? And so that then triggers when a client, and this is also a big piece of it, if you guys are doing service work, the best decision I ever made in my life was to allow people to guilt-free decline working with me. And so in this SOW, there's a first question. It's literally, do you accept this proposal or do you decline it? If they decline it, it's hey, why? They can share it. They don't have to. If it was budget, if it was vibe, whatever, right? I get that data to know, is my pricing right? Am I getting on the right sales calls with people? But then if they approve it, it goes through, and I use Paperform for all of my forms, by the way, all my contracts, everything. Because I'm their first global expert, I get an enterprise lifetime free plan. It's $800 a month. I can't not use it, right? But in that, it then triggers the service agreement. They type in all their business information, their LLC name, their address, all that stuff. They sign it. It then triggers again to allow them to schedule their 4-hour offsite call with me. I do 4 hours of minimum strategy with every team. Then I do 3 additional hours with every key partner on their team, whether it's board members, whether it's assistants, whoever else I need to talk to, clients, etc. And so that then regenerates them to cal.com to allow them to book that call with me. Then it redirects again and allows them to get their onboarding homework. So I'm gonna give you guys the literal workbook that I give every single client at the end of this. It's free. You can also just download it from my website. But in all of that, Lizzie is triggered the second they click accept to then block every single date of that project on my calendar. So that's the first thing. So I never get double booked again. Why would anyone want to be double booked in their life? I don't know, but I very much value my time. And so she not only puts prep work in before our strategy session, she blocks the whole day of the strategy session and the next day because I'm very much, I seem friendly, but I like being quiet. I like my alone time, and so I need to decompress, right? Also, I go to clients, so if I have to travel and book flights or whatever, I can do that, and I have that space, and I don't have to rework calls with anybody else. She also then puts in some other things on my calendar that are client-facing. So when their onboarding is due, right, all their homework that they have to do, that gets sent, a calendar invite between the two of us. Then she takes the next step, and creates our Slack Connect channel. She customizes the message. I have a template that you then plug in like dates and things. She does all of that, invites the client to that, so I don't do any of that. There's a ton of stuff that she does. But let's say that they don't accept the SOW. Well, how long does that last, right? I take the approach of kind of a scientific method. When you're thinking about your journey mapping and when you're thinking about what you can automate, is if this, then what? If a client gets a proposal from you and doesn't respond, then what happens? How often do you follow up? Do you follow up? If they do this or they're qualified to work with you, do you not follow up, right? What are the things? If they're not qualified to work with you, do you send them a lead magnet? Do you send them a DIY offer? Do you just kind of keep their email in case time happens that you have an offer that could work for them? So those are all the things that Lizzie takes care of before the project even starts, y'all. I literally went from a 7-hour onboarding process to literally 30 seconds. And I don't lose sleep over the fact that it is automated because all of my clients, no matter if they're paying me $1,500, $15,000, $150,000, they are getting the exact same experience that they signed up. They signed up for me, right, in my delivery. So once the project is actually going through, I know y'all can't see it right now, but I haven't changed the slide, don't worry. During the project, I handle all of my finances in Notion. Because I'm a solopreneur, I don't outsource anything. If I didn't say it, it's because I don't believe in offshore hiring. I don't know if I said that. But I built Lizzie because I didn't want to pay somebody like around the world $4 an hour. Like I understand the pricing difference, but that felt so grimy to me. And I just was like, I'd rather pay a stay-at-home mom in my neighborhood if I could afford that, right? Than like pay a random thing, just have it done. So on top of that, I have zero expenses. Most of my software, I think I pay for like two pieces of software, and that's it, right? I literally don't pay for anything else. So I do all my invoicing and finances in Notion. And so I track invoices. That's also, she adds that into Notion, like when invoices are due, if somebody selects a payment plan, because I do offer that. And so she literally gets triggered by the dates in Notion to generate the invoice in Stripe, send the invoice in Stripe, and also follow up if they are late. And if they are late, I pause all work, and she handles all of that language. I don't have to be an asshole and say, hey guys, sorry you didn't pay me. I'm not working for you right now, right? I don't have to do any of that emotional work because listen, I may cry a lot, but I don't do emotion in business, okay? Like that is, if I can get rid of all of that off my plate, very, very happy to. So the biggest thing that Lizzie does that I am still kind of testing out, but it's worked fairly well for me, is that Lizzie manages my entire Gmail account. She reads my emails, drafts replies, sends them to me in Slack to approve with an emoji, and then sends the emails. Now, there are certain labels like newsletters, right? She doesn't need to generate a response to somebody's newsletter, but anything that has to do with sales, questions, clients, she manages entirely through a ChatGPT prompt that I have written. The only thing I don't love about it, just, perks and pluses and minuses of AI, is that she still doesn't understand how to ask follow-up questions, no matter how hard I've tried. And so if somebody is requesting, an hourly project from me, like a client that's on an ad hoc retainer, and they don't tell you when the deadline is, she still doesn't get it in her robot mind to say, hey, when do you need this by, right? No matter what you put in the prompt. And so there are certain limitations, but it still saves me so much time from having to read an email, sit and go, what kind of person do I want to be in this response? Am I being too friendly? Am I being too serious? And I have a designated signature for Lizzie as well. In my email, she's an alias in my main account that literally says, from Lizzie Benson, AI-powered account executive. So that way people, if it's weird, people know, like, hey, it was an AI response, but it's because I'm doing things that I'm actually getting paid for. And while I want to read your email, I don't really have time. God, I sound like such an asshole, huh? Okay, so this is one of the sequences in Zapier that I talked about with onboarding, just to give you guys an idea of how she works. I'm also realizing when I screenshotted this earlier, it was before I labeled all of the steps, so if you have questions, let me know. But she is very basic. I mean, I am not sitting here writing code and doing all this insane stuff. Y'all, I am explaining an AI agent to you. I didn't know that term until about 2 weeks ago, and I've had Lizzie for over a year. So when it comes to like AI knowledge, I just know what works for me. I have zero education on the space, okay? So like don't come at me in the comments. This is also the email management. So it's very simple. I actually built this on live stream. If you want to see me cry, I cried on that live stream because I didn't know with ChatGPT you had to have a separate subscription and coins or whatever they're called in order to like generate within Zapier. So that was like a whole learning thing. It was a fun time on live stream, guys. But this is what she does. She literally just generates, ships it, and goes. Okay, that's not going to load. I was going to show you all my emoji system. Let's refresh this real fast because I want you to see. So like I mentioned, I do all of my work in Slack, and it all is based on emojis. So for me, in here, I really want you guys to see it. So just ignore my my lapse in professionalism for a second. Canva doesn't load. Okay, so I love emojis. I may be an elder millennial, so to speak, but I love my emojis. They are simple and quick and dirty, and they work for me. And so I have one main channel in Slack that is private to me. I call it a dump truck or a sandbox. And basically all incoming invoices come through there. My content ideation goes into this. If I find a random link, I will put it in there. Yes, please, I don't do second brain and I'm fine with it. Please don't talk to me, okay? I like my system. But at some point, I have to organize it, right? And so for instance, if I use the crayon emoji, it's because I actually liked that content idea and I want it to go into my official content calendar in Notion. So I could go write a video script, so I could write out a carousel or whatever. And then things to clean it up is easy. I use a disco ball in my branding. So my disco ball trashes everything. You can upload custom emojis in Slack if y'all didn't know. So I use the Google Calendar as a custom emoji, which adds time onto my calendar. So if something's important, it adds it at 10 a.m. the next day, because that is a priority. That's when I do my deep focus work. I do 2 blocks a day. If it's not a priority, it adds it to Friday, because Friday is kind of like my putzing around day. Some people call it a CEO day. I call it a sit at radio and drink coffee and look cute day. And so I then generate my tasks future forward from there. Within clients, every client gets a Slack channel, Slack Connect, and they are required to follow my emoji system. So if I leave them a note in Slack, like, hey, like for instance, I'm building a SharePoint site for a client right now, and I shipped off like the file structure for it, and so I'll say, hey, like file structure's done, if you could go review it, that'd be great. They're required to use the eyeball emoji to say, yes, we saw this. Because I don't need to follow up with you and track you down. If you saw my messages because you haven't replied, you're probably busy. If I don't see the eyes, I know that they haven't had time to review it. I don't need to hunt them down and say, hey, are you busy? Like, I literally don't have time for that. If it takes us 3 extra weeks on the project because you're not looking at stuff, that's not my problem. I get paid either way if it takes you longer. But then once things are done, we use the green check mark to say like, hey, this task is done or whatever. So this is mine. I also, like I said, invoices, right? So I sell templates and things on Lemon Squeezy, and all those payments go through Slack just as like a little like perk, you know, like, oh, I made a sale, you know? I could pay my car insurance this month. And so in that, I use the money bag emoji to officially add it to my finances. So, and that actually completely removes emails. Like, I don't get lemon squeezy emails. Like, do not email me. I have too many emails. And so the Slack thing is nice because it pushes it through for a little like dopamine hit, but I'm not having to actually sift through my email and clean it out and organize and do all of these things. So this is my emoji system, and it's great. I love my emoji system. It works so well. So all that to say, since I've implemented LizzieAI, 4 huge things have come out of that for me as a solopreneur who manages on average 12 clients at a time. I've worked with over 400 companies in the last 7 years. I have an AI-powered account hiring directory, opsdepartment.io. I built it with a co-founder who's also a Notion consultant. I'm back doing events full time, so I'm like producing full conferences for people. Shout out Sponsor Games. If you guys do content, want brand deals, come to San Antonio March 16th and learn from Justin. He's incredible. I've worked with him for years. I'm also producing it, so come and buy tickets so I can get paid. But from that, I also, have a bunch of other stuff. I'm working on my first book. I am, an avid gardener. I do like 4 puzzles a week. I love to read, right? So all of that, I got 10 hours back of my time that I can do whatever I want with. I don't even have to go get another client. I can just have 10 hours back on my day, right? I do HotWorks. Does anyone do HotWorks in here? Because I'm obsessed. Okay, I'm obsessed with HotWorks. So it's basically an ISO workout, 40 minutes in a sauna and infrared. I go twice a day, y'all. Like, if you didn't automate stuff, how do you go to the gym? I don't know. Also on top of that, 30% capacity increase, because outside of Lizzie, I streamlined my entire business so well that I could take on more clients if I really wanted to. Do I? No, I just want to be paid more, right? I don't necessarily need the headcount. Also, 4 times deliverability quality. I've had clients say, man, since you implement, like clients that have been with me off and on, right, over the years, you have clients that come back and they're like, man, this system is solid, right? It is solid. It is cool. And then obviously launching the second business, which is Ops Department. And how I did that is with a workbook I'm going to give you for free right now. It's also free all the time on my website. It's not, I'm just trying to perk it up. But basically what this does, I give this away as the starting point for every single client to literally understand every nook and cranny of their business. Like, you can't automate, you can't streamline, you can't build systems if you don't actually know your business. And I kid you not, I have worked with clients who are making close to $1 million a month, who don't know how to offboard their clients, who have never asked for feedback, who don't know how to communicate with their team that's in Europe other than Slack, and then micromanaging. And so this workbook has literally changed lives. Like, I'm not even kidding, y'all. I've had CEOs who've had 7, 8, 9 VAs. We've completely redone their org chart just by them writing down basic answers to questions. And so if you're like, oh, I feel like I'm working in chaos and I really just I need some clarity and I need to know what life is going to look like if I'm going to keep doing this business I set out to do, this workbook will change your life. And there's also 2 versions. So when y'all download it, there's a solos version and a teams version. So based on kind of your persona and where you're at, download the one that's more applicable to you. But yeah, that's it. Who's got questions? I know I talked a lot. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally. So the question is, what kind of consulting work do I do for clients? So what do I do? That's such a great question. I'm like, depends on the day, I guess. Honestly, I come in as a C-suite companion. So I come in, I've helped CEOs exit and rework their entire job description to say, hey, all of my project managers quit. I can't leave this company because no one's running this brand, right? So I have this method I talk to clients a lot about how I manage down in order to process up, right? So you have a lot of C-suite people who don't know shit about people on the bottom and what they do every day, right? They may have written that job description. They don't know what you do every day, right? They don't know how you are executing projects. They don't know how you're actually delivering their vision of the company, like how to actually do it, right? So I am that middleman who I say, okay, here's the vision. The CEO wants something crazy. They want to double their revenue. They want to double whatever. How do we actually make that happen so your entire team doesn't quit, right? So from that, it is processing things out. It all starts with mapping. So how do we actually work on a day-to-day? And I kind of break that apart between internal and external, right? You have internal responsibilities to talk to your manager, to communicate to engineering, to communicate to product, but also what are you doing externally, right? To make your customers and your clients happy. A lot of the time it ends up being a more holistic overhaul where we are completely moving them. I'm moving a client from Salesforce and HubSpot into Notion right now because the price was so expensive. They were paying, I think, $70,000 a year for Salesforce. And it's like, why? You're a team of 5. What do you paying that for? I digress. So, it's a lot of tech overhaul. A lot of the time it ends up being Notion rebuilds. Like I said, I've done SharePoint. I'm doing a SharePoint right now. I've done Google Workspace overhauls. I worked with Guy Fieri for about 9 months, and that's what we did for him. I also work with a lot of, what is the word I'm thinking of? Alphabet to Google. Oh my God, my brain. Somebody help me. Yeah, a parent company. Thank you. Oh my gosh, y'all, coffee. So I work with a lot of parent companies who have existing brands, and then they've built this like overhead, and they want to roll everything up, right? So we're combining QuickBooks accounts, we're combining Google Workspace accounts, and so doing all of that strategy and implementation. That's what I did with Guy and his 4 businesses. And so it all is like, how do we actually move forward? How do we future-proof your business? And that's what I do. Yeah, I wish I could actually say these are the 5 deliverables, but every day I wake up and do something different, which I love, and that's why I'm a problem solver, which is why I'm in operations, And I also have no emotion. So if your business fails, that's on you. Let's fix it, I'm not going to cry at the end of the day. So, yeah. What other questions do y'all have? Yeah. Easiest to implement for greatest return. I would start with auditing your business, honestly. I know that this is a conversation about AI, but you're going to get so much valuable input by just sitting down and saying, yes, I know everything, but I don't know anything, right? And taking that bias away from yourself to say, I can fix this or I can implement this. And then, if we're talking about AI, I would say, to go back to the audit, part of that, I would say, is go back and look at questions you've gotten from clients and customers. So a big thing for me around this time when Lizzie started getting implemented was I would have clients who would ask for payment plans. This is the easiest thing I can think of for you, is I would get clients who'd be like, price, it's a lot, but if you give me a payment plan, I'm happy to pay that price, right? So instead of waiting for them to ask, I just offer it now. I do one time up front, it's 10% off if you pay me in full, and then I do a 50-50 plan and a 3-time plan. And so that completely eliminates those questions for me, right? It's like, if you want a payment plan, I don't really care as long as I get paid, happy to, if that works for you, right? So there's simple little things like that you'll notice in those habits that'll help start answering that for you. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you draw the line between what can be automated, what can be contextualized with AI first? Now, there's so many times where I or my colleagues will say, can we get AI looped in here?
Yeah.
And, there's just too many context clues that are missing. You need a human. But I also see that perspective going all the way down to checking your emails at work or whatnot. So
Yeah.
Obviously you have more tolerance for that, or found a different way of perceiving that and using AI to understand the world beyond just integrations and workflows.
Yeah. So the question is, how do you contextualize humanity versus AI? I try to do everything under AI that no one will care if it's AI, right? So again, repeatable things, right? So contracts. How is someone going to know if I wrote it versus AI wrote it, right? I mean, I wrote the contract, my lawyer approved the contract, but filling in somebody's address, why does that matter, right? It's getting it right. You're not having to, oh my God, did I type that in right, and have the stress. Because before I automated everything, I used to send stuff and stress out. Oh my God, did I send this link? Is this link wrong? I get links wrong all the time in my newsletter, guys. I don't want to get it wrong in a contract, right? But when it comes to human stuff, I do this AI because I want to be as present as possible for when people are actually paying me for my brain. And that's in strategy, that's in implementation and execution. And so I try to not ever toy that line. If it involves software specific features, AI all day, right? But it's the same thing with notes, right? You can have an AI note taker and they're going to get it wrong sometimes, but that's why you need to be present and pay attention to what's happening. And if it's broken, if the AI you're building is giving you more problems than it is benefits, then chances are either the tool's wrong or you need to rework that process and either eliminate it or not. I will say, a book that was really good on my perspective of this, if y'all have, y'all should read A World Without Email by Cal Newport. He also wrote the book Deep Work. A World Without Email changed my life, like literally changed my life. And it's all about how do you actually rebuild connection in the office without relying on an inbox to do so. And like, how do you actually be productive? So I definitely recommend checking that book out because I think it'll give you some good perspective. So yeah. What other questions? Yeah. Sorry, I didn't see your hand. No, I'm an open book, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So everything is triggered through Zapier. So a lot of people use Make. A lot of people are getting on Relay right now. Relay is great. The founder's awesome. I'm trying to become a Zapier expert. So I build everything in there. And it really just starts with the action. So if, again, going back to my formula of if this, then what, if a client signs a contract, then what happens, which is what the trigger is. So for me, it's the submission of a paper form that then triggers all of the actions. And so the follow-up there is additional triggers. So in Zapier, you can do multi-step zaps and multi-triggers. I don't know what their official word is, but it's like a zap within a zap, basically. But my thing I will say, before you roll this out in your business and you're like, hey guys, we have this great new AI, test it internally. Test it, test it, test it, test it, test it, test it, test it. Create a fake profile for yourself as if you were a customer or a client and go through the motions. Because that's where I found a lot of things where I was like, oh, in my mind, this makes sense that it works. But there were like all these things where I was like, oh, the client's gonna have a question here. They're gonna have a question there. If they didn't read this redirect page and I don't share it in an email after because they closed the tab out, they're gonna bombard me with, hey, how do I book a call? When instead they could have just read, but nobody reads, guys. Listen, nobody reads. So you have to double dip your work, and testing that out is how you're gonna find that out. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep, basically. Yeah, I have that. So that's what we're working on with the ops department right now. So for people wanting to hire low code, no code people, so think Bubble, ClickUp experts, Notion experts, for implementation, nobody knows what that kind of stuff costs, right? No one knows, because listen, Notion templates are $20 a pop. I know, because I battle the ecosystem all the time. And so I get sales calls all the time who are like, oh my God, you charge $7,500 starting? And I'm like, yeah, honey, because I've got 12 years of experience, right? And so for me, with ops department, what we're trying to do is answer those questions preliminarily and be kind of that hiring middleman, right? To say, hey, what time zone do you want? Okay, cool. Here are the consultants. Do you want to keep going, or do you want to answer questions, right? What's your budget? Oh, I don't know. Okay, well, what do you actually want? People don't even know their deliverables that they want, y'all. And so building an AI in that way that's more conversational is a goal of mine, but for everything with Lizzie, it's transactional. It's something that I consider it a yes employee, right? We all have in our org chart, we have people who just do yes things. They're not making decisions. They're not helping to move the needle, and that's okay. We need people like that, right? There are non-knowledge workers 90% of the time. And so with Lizzie, she is my non-knowledge worker. I'm not asking for her opinion on how I should change my pricing. You just do my shit, you know? Yeah. Sure. I say that one more time. With Google Maps. Uh-huh. Got it. No, I haven't, but I don't have any clients that need mapping, so I don't really spend a whole lot of time. But maybe with the change in Gemini, I don't know. That's an interesting question. Maybe bring it up with the group after. Maybe somebody has, but yeah, I don't really play with outside of Gmail and Google Drive. I don't mess with Google products. Yeah.
I was wondering, so you mentioned a little bit about your background.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How much programming do you use to first create Lizzie, and
Mm-hmm.
in general, like just operating Lizzie?
Mm-hmm. I have a public history degree. I wanted to work at the Smithsonian and play with dead stuff all day. That was my childhood dream. So no, I have no coding background except my MySpace page as a teenager. The CSS, baby, it's the gift that keeps on giving. But no, so Lizzie really is like the least amount of programming, right? Because Zapier is low code, no code. I don't know Python. I don't even know why code is named after a scary snake. Could not tell you. I know nothing. And so for me, in making the conscious decision to quote unquote never hire again, which I was very loud about on my YouTube channel, I was like, what is the least amount of effort that I can give to make this possible? And that's where Zapier came in for me. And I know Zapier has its limits. You know, a lot of people, especially if you're in the Notion world, you know that the API is sometimes very stressful. And so Make is usually a better platform for automation. And now slowly Relay is taking over. But I knew Zapier, right? And so for me with this, to also go back to your question at the beginning, I wanted something that wasn't going to scare me, that wasn't going to overwhelm me and deter me. And I get that, especially from a lot of my solopreneur clients, is like, I want this, but I don't know how to manage it. I don't know what, you know, if you're going to build this for me, what if it breaks? Like, what am I going to do? It's like, well, first you can just call me, beat me, but it shouldn't be scary to manage, right? And that's the whole point with this is AI doesn't have to be this insane language and this scary thing. You really can dip your toes and feel successful in it. So, yeah. Anything else? Yeah.
I just wanted to hear if you had any cool, like, oh shit moments to share, and what do you think is going to happen next with Lizzie?
Yeah. Oh shit moments. I think it was when that client approached me in a call and was like, who's Lizzie? Why do you have an AI? And it was somebody who, I have to be careful on what I say, but I also don't care because NDAs aren't real. It was someone who very much had the perspective that all of their 25-year-old employees were dumb and that they ran a dictatorship and not a democracy in their business. And I've been very fortunate that I have never felt inferior for being a woman in business. I've never had any experiences where I'm like, oh, I gotta like find my backbone, right? And so when that happened, it was like, who are you to tell me how to run my business when you're not even paying me a quarter of what I make in a year? Like, who are you to ask me to change how I run my business? And that actually, y'all, is what inspired me to create my exclusivity pricing and my enterprise pricing. Because if you have an issue with me automating my business, then I tack on 45% to manually work on your project because I don't have time for your bullshit and you're going to pay for it. And so that was one of those things where I was like, okay, I need to figure out if somebody has an issue with this in the future, how do I stand my ground that this is my business and not theirs? Because as many of you know, contractors are not looked at as real people 90% of the time. And so we really have to like force ourselves to be taken seriously. For the future of Lizzie, I would really love for her to master creating content for me. I hate creating content, guys. Like, listen, it's funny because if you're friends with me on LinkedIn or follow me or whatever, we're connected, okay? You have me on social media. I literally put out a call yesterday. I'm like, I want a strategist to come in and do non-social media lead gen strategy with me. How can I better connect offline? If I didn't have to make content, I would not be on the internet. I love my silent live streams, y'all. If you're in my co-working club at Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I don't say a word. We co-work in silence and it's great. So Lizzie, I really want her to master content for me. And I know that there's platforms out there like Cast Magic. I was an early adopter of Cast Magic to kind of repurpose content, but the AI with content just isn't there for me yet. It's too like, I don't know, like you think about an iceberg, right? And it's like not even at like the tip. It's at like the little bubble floating off to the side, you know? Yeah. I literally don't know what that is. Probably shouldn't be giving this talk, I guess. No, isn't it like where it's like super fake? It's like super fake content or something. It's like a fake head on a body. See, okay, I don't even know. Deep fake. Okay, I don't know what deep seek is. Yeah. Oh. I mean, listen, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Like, I hate platform hopping, and so I probably won't even beta test that. Like, why? Why would I do that? People all the time are like, you have to get on Claude, and I'm like, that sounds like a lot of work. It sounds like a lot of work to test out a platform. But I felt the pressure. I was in San Francisco for the Notion conference, and there was Clyde posters everywhere, and it's like, okay, guys, like, we get it. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah. Ooh. Oh, you know my pricing strategy. Okay. Everybody take out your notebook. We're going to talk about something. So my pricing, as I mentioned, I worked nonprofit for 10 years, where I literally made 40 grand a year before taxes. I never made more than that. And I managed 3 departments. I had interns. I had the whole shebang. I also helped open an extension office, and I still made $40,000 a year. So when I first started freelancing, this is 2017, early 2018, there was so much conversation about value-based. Charge your value. Price your value. And I'm like, I'm really burnt out and I cry every day, so I guess my value is $12 an hour because that's what I literally made. And for me, I literally could not calculate that in my tiny white girl brain to know how to pay my bills from value-based pricing. I still don't understand what value-based pricing is. It's like the 80-20 rule. It took me like 5 years to know what the 80-20 rule meant, okay? Like I'm not a math girl, okay? And so for me, when I first started freelancing, I said, well, how much money do I need to be able to pay my car insurance? How much money do I need to pay my rent? And that is literally how I priced my services. So my hourly rate is my car insurance, $150 a month. Still to this day, my hourly rate is $150 a month because all I need is one call and my car's good. If I get hit, my car's good, right? And then my top price is all my bills combined, right? So for me, my rent at the time was like $1,000 a month. So it's like, okay, all my bills, car insurance, groceries, whatever, came out to like $3,500. I was literally charging like $3,500 for like 3 years because I was good, I was solid. I am a very, y'all are gonna hate me for saying this, I don't put 30% aside for taxes. I don't factor that in because my taxes, my next invoice pays my taxes. Like I just, when tax season comes, okay, that's the invoice. I don't set that kind of money aside because that stresses me out. And so, on top, that is literally my pricing. It's my bills. And then every year I tack on $1,000 for experience, which is how I get to that. And then again, the 30% exclusivity, 45% if you don't want me to use any kind of automation and you want me full on. The problem client that I mentioned earlier, I was on 10 hours a week of calls with them. I just sat there and listened to him talk. I didn't get paid for a single other thing. I was fine with it. And so that's literally how I charge my pricing. So yeah. Do you have a follow-up? Yeah.
So we spoke about finally not applying to proposals.
Sure.
What is your time frame?
Yeah. So I kind of make it hard. Yeah. So the question is, how do I handle proposals and kind of the timeline with that? So if you are getting on a call with me, it's because you want to work with me. At this point, it's very rare. I have like a 98% conversion on my sales calls because I also, automation before that, in cal.com, I use cal.com. I refuse to use Calendly. You could not pay me $1 million to ever go back to that tool. Cal.com is free and it's open source for all of you nerdy techs out there. But they have a feature that Calendly did not have that when someone books a call, you can approve or reject the call. And so when somebody books a sales call with me, I ask leading questions to say, hey, do you know what you want? Do you know what your budget is? Do you know this, that, and this? And if they say no to any of those questions, I decline the call. And I push them through my hiring directory because it's not, if you can't read my website to see what I charge, why are you getting on a call with me if you don't know what it's gonna cost? And so with that, normally clients take about 72 hours to sign on with me, and it's because they have to get their finance department to approve it. So it's really not anything, but I did have a client who was a VC real estate company that it took them 9 months to sign on with me, and we would just like touch base because they were like, oh, we want to do stuff internally. So I would just set a reminder and an automation to just send an email, like scheduled emails in Gmail to just say, hey, just following up, are you ready to go? So that's kind of what I do. But if I don't hear from them, if I do 2 follow-ups and don't hear from them, I just pull them out of my sales pipeline. I don't send an email like, oh, I guess you don't want to work with me. Like, if you can't reply to me one time and say I'm not interested, like, I'm not going to waste my time and follow up. So, yeah. I don't do, like, the sales. Like, I know some of y'all in here are salespeople. I'm like, I'm good. Like, you either want to work with me or you don't. I don't need to beg. So, we're good on time? Cool. Awesome. Awesome. Any last questions? Any pressing thing you want to ask the group? You can also come talk to me after. No? Cool. Well, thank y'all for coming today. I'm really grateful for all of you. And yeah, if we want to connect, I'm the Sara Loretta on everything, and then my website is systems.club. But I'm always around, y'all. And I also run 4 in-person communities in Austin, ATX YouTubers. So if you have a YouTube channel, you want to hang out, do that once a month. Notion Austin's about every 6 weeks. And then I do a silent co-working club called Ops Not Oops every other Friday at Radio East. So if you just want a body double, come hang out.
really